So the first book I want to share with you is from Usborne. It's the Then and Now book, and it just kind of helps your child get a sense for what exactly we're talking about when we say the past or history, because sometimes that is a difficult concept to grasp, when the ages 4, 5, and 6. It kind of helps sometimes when you have the ability to go to some of the places like Williamsburg, and we go to a lot of local plantations and things like that, because it kind of puts it in perspective when they see the people working, the interpreters working. It kind of helps them to kind of, a little bit. But this book does the same idea. So we can see what a kitchen looked like, and then now what the kitchen looks like, just the different, ways of cooking, things like that. So this is the drawing room and the drawing room, so basically a living room. A bedroom, what it would have looked like, and then what a bedroom looks like now. So this is a good resource to kind of introduce that concept that, you want to start talking about things that happened in the past. So there's one. The second one that's good for this age, and I had shared a book of file folder games that I purchased that probably about a month or so ago. This one is from the social studies one, and what I like about this set is that it's about 10 file folder games. I have the science and the social studies ones. This one, like I said, is from social studies, and you just basically put them together as per the instructions. So there's no printing, you're not using up your ink resources and things like that. You just need some tape and some glue and some folders, and you're good to go. So it's just a quick game that you can play. These are the 2 game boards for each person. There's a section for past and present, and then there's this little spinner, and you use the spinner to pull the cards, and then whoever fills up their entire game board what first wins. And basically there's pictures of things from the past, what a house would have looked like, how they get around. This is a game, corn. So the counterpart to this one is, I'm not going to dig through here, but the counterpart to this one is buying it in a store, I think, and then a modern looking home, and a car is the counterpart to this, and then there's a doll that kind of is the opposite, basically, of a gaming system. So that's just another way to kind of make it fun and bring the concept of history and past and present together for your younger child. And Zachary and I played this a week ago, and he enjoyed it. He actually asks to play these games. He gets the concept, but it's just fun to keep playing them over and over. So I think we have to work on next is not always winning. He's in that winning stage where he needs to win all the time. So that's something, and that's why I like to play the games, so that we can work on those skills as well. So that is my recommendation for the younger children, and everything else that I am showing you are the resources that we're going to be using from throughout the summer leading up to first grade. We don't necessarily do grades, but in my mind he's going into first grade, so we're going to be using all of these resources probably over the next year and a half. So first grade through probably the holidays in second grade, because I want to take my time and pace myself with them, because there's really no rush. That's the main takeaway as far as educating your child. There's no rush. Still little. So I'm going to share with you the rest of the resources, and you can see what we're going to be using. So the next few books that I'm going through I'm going to just go through them fairly quickly, and then later on, as I come back and kind of plan out how we're going to be using them, I will go ahead and do a more in-depth video on each particular curriculum or each particular book and how we're going to use it, because I'm not 100% sure. I just know that I love so far these resources. Okay, so the first book is A Child's History of the World. This is by V.M. Hillier, and this book I've seen pretty much everywhere. It's gotten some great reviews, and I started reading it. I actually read the first chapter to Zachary one night while he was eating dinner, and it talks about the different steps. So we have stars, sun, spark, world, steam, rain, oceans, plants, animals, jellyfish, insects, fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, and then people. So it's a whole progression. So then the next chapter is people who lived in caves, and it goes on, and then the third chapter is about fire. So it's a very comprehensive book, but it's short chapters that, like I said, you could just finish reading during breakfast or during dinner, and just to kind of set that tone and give them a little bit of background. I'm probably going to use this one through the summer. So depending on how long it takes us, I probably won't finish it this summer. So in my head, I think this is going to be used up through November. The way that I'm going to lay it out is just because I like to take December off as far as curriculum goes or schooling goes, and make it more about the holidays and incorporate some, holiday stuff in there. So for the first half of the year up through November, probably around Thanksgiving, we'll stop. I'll be using this book, The Child's History of the World. So that's my plan on that one. Okay, so next up is The Story of the World. And these have been reviewed and re-reviewed and talked about, and pros and cons all over YouTube. So I won't get into any depth on that aspect. I just know for me, I think this is going to be a good fit for how I'm going to be teaching history going forward. The way that these are set up, if you're not familiar, there are 4 books. So we've got the first one, Ancient Times, is Volume 1. Volume 2 is Middle Ages. So you start that about 2nd grade. I like that because that has been an interest that Zachary's had for the last year and a half now. He's been interested in medieval times and all of that for the longest time. So I'm going to take my time with this, but knowing that, that one's coming will be kind of like an incentive for him. But again, this is Ancient Times, and it's, it starts with nomads, earliest people, Egypt, all of that, ancient China, Fertile Crescent, and these books are such that they have it written geared towards elementary, middle, and high school. So you can use these at any stage. So my plan on the 4, my overall history plan is to use these through 4th or 5th grade. And then in about 5th grade, bring in some of the American history aspects and focus on that for a while. So then, because at that point we would probably be road schooling and visiting places throughout the country that we are learning about, and we'll learn through road schooling because he'll be 10-ish at that point, I think. So that is my overall plan, and then what we'll do is circle back in high school with these books again. So he's got that aspect, and then of course high school there's a requirement for American government, civics, and U.S. history again. So we can, go through that again as well on a higher high school level, obviously, which I haven't really thought about because he's only 5 right now, but that's my overall plan if the homeschooling thing continues for us. So that's why I opted to get these, because I liked the idea of teaching world history with an overall view of what's going on everywhere at a given time. Learning it in bits and pieces is hard for me to grasp myself, is probably the main reason I loathed history, is because it never there was never a flow to it. It never made any sense because it was bits and pieces all over the place. So I feel like this is going to help tremendously as far as pull everything together, and we'll have a timeline and it will all make sense. That's my ultimate goal. So that's number 2. Now, as I go forward and use this is the activity book, and I've got some other resources, and as we get into them, I will show you that go along with these and other books and things like that that you would read with these, Magic Treehouse and whatever. But this activity book is broken down by the student workbook part, and then there's a section with just maps, and then there's a section of, like images and things like that. So there's some maps and more maps, and then some pages about the plagues, Moses and the 10 plagues. So there's a lot. So my plan is to break this down, have it, remove it from the binding, have that done, so that I can put this kind of like in a binder and separate out the sections so that they're easy to grab when I need them. But I will get to that and do a video on that when I get to that point, because we're a bit off from that. Probably be towards the beginning of 2018 if all goes according to plan with reading this through November. So those are the first part of it, and everything else going forward from here is to supplement the story of the world. Okay, so my final three resources, as I said, are supplements to the ancient times part that we're going to be learning in the story of the world. So the first book that I got was this, the Usborne Encyclopedia of World History. This will be a valuable resource however long we homeschool, obviously, because there's just so much information. And I'll just flip through some of the pages here for you. It's such a heavy book, but there's just so much. And I think this is going to be, and I love the style that Usborne, he's very familiar with the Usborne style of book because we've had them since forever. I think he will enjoy this. There's a lot of information. So at age 5 right now, most of this probably won't get read, but just having it there with, you know, as we talk about something, we can go and talk about bits and pieces, but there's just so much information that we can't possibly cover it all, and I wouldn't, but it'll be a great resource going forward. And then this is the internet linked book. So as you are reading through, there are going to be links where you can type in on your computer, obviously. I don't know why I needed to say that, but you can just, obviously internet links are what they are. I don't need to explain that. So there's that aspect, and there's additional activities that you can do. So even if you just get this for your world history curriculum, this is a wealth of information, and it's really all-encompassing. You could just use this as your world history. It doesn't have to be all that. That's the other thing I want to say. None of this stuff is necessary to homeschool. You can find, you know, you can piece together your own curriculum. Usborne is a great resource, something like this, and there's other ones that you could use this as your base, and that's all you really need to know. But I wanted to, I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to try this out, and I feel like it's going to work because I needed that guidance myself with the curriculum and lesson plan and things like that. So that's the reason I went with these two curriculums there. So this is the Usborne Encyclopedia of World History. Next, this one I thought was a cool addition. I love these books so much. This is Egyptology, and I flipped through it, but I haven't opened any of the special, it's kind of like a scrapbook style book. Things are kind of taped down and stuff, but it's just a beautiful book. With lots of information, and the way that it's done is just really neat. I really like it. So I'll just flip through a few more pages here. So you see like things that open up and fold up. It's just very interactive, and you know, so there's that. I know my older kids had a Dragonology one when they were younger. It ultimately got ruined, but it's definitely, these are really some cool books. Candlewick Press is the publisher. So there's that. And this is really just really neat. The little gems inside and on the outside. Okay, finally, I'm just going to wrap this up now. Final book is from Usborne again also. This is Timelines of World History. This book has been what I've been looking for my entire life as it relates to world history, which, whatever. It's not as dramatic as all that, honestly. But what I'm trying to say is it's so helpful to me because I can pull, you know, the way that it's laid out is you will get, it's just a timeline of history. You've got your year, and then you will see what was happening in each region at that time. Because again, like I had said before, I had bits and pieces, and I never really knew what was going on in the other parts of the world, and it just was just piecemeal, and it didn't make any sense. This makes ultimate sense of everything. So we've got 1000 BC, I'll know what's happening in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. So this starts about then, 2000 BC, we'll start, where do we start? 10,000 BC. Okay, so we start at 10,000 BC, you know what's happening. It goes through, here we are at 1200, 1800, you find out what's happening in America, Australasia, Africa and the Middle East, and Europe. just everything that's going on, the main things. It's huge. 1840, and here we've got 1980. 1981, Ronald Reagan becomes president. So then at the same time, when Ronald Reagan was becoming president, what was happening in Egypt? President Sadat of Egypt is assassinated. I totally remember that. And then Hosni Mubarak is elected president. Things that I remember from 81. Might have been that. So it's cool to see, you know, because I lived that. I was young. I was 6 or 7. Yeah, something like that. I remember that. First grade. I was in first grade. So I just, you know, so it's just helpful. It's just helpful. So we go all the way up to, where are we? All the way up to 1999. So that's cool. So again, this is the timeline of world history from Usborne. And at the end of the book, it's got prime ministers and presidents of all the places, kings and queens, and then some internet links again, as Usborne always does. So those are my history options going forward for the next year and a half, going into second grade. So it is a lot of information. It's a lot of books, a lot of reading, but again, like I had said before, just to reiterate, there's no need to rush through it. If I take a year or two to get through world history, ancient times, that's fine, because there's honestly no rush. I would rather instill I'm not doing this to have him remember dates and, you know, people's names. I just want him to have an idea of what was going on. So there's not going to be any memorization or anything like that required, no fact but just a knowledge of things, just kind of so it's back in the back of his head, you know, so in 5 years or 4 years when he hears Anwar Sadat, he's like, oh, I remember he was killed, and, you know, so just, you know, he'd make a great Jeopardy participant, right? Jeopardy, I don't know. So anyways, that's the plan for the next year and a half or so with our history, and I hope this was helpful. I'm going to dig into these further as I go, we start using them more, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're going to be using for history going forward. So I hope that was helpful, and as always, thanks for watching. Please like if you liked this video, subscribe if you want to see more YouTube videos, and I have something so amazing coming up. The end of the summer, I'm writing an ebook on homeschooling, like 101, homeschooling 101. So if you are not yet a homeschooler, I would definitely subscribe, because this ebook is going to totally knock your socks off. It is going to have everything you need to know from start to finish about homeschooling. So definitely subscribe if that's something that you have in the back of your head that, I really am thinking about homeschooling. Definitely subscribe, because that's coming down sometime soon. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is challenges of homeschooling, and something that I'm going to delve into probably maybe on Friday. I might do a video on this. I really want to get some time with it, but there's some challenges to homeschooling. What if your spouse isn't on board, right? What if you want to homeschool but your spouse doesn't? So if that's something you think you might be interested, definitely subscribe, because I'm going to really dig deep on some of these things, because I've been doing this since 2011, and I've learned some things, I've made some mistakes, and I want to share that with you so you can save some time and energy and stress. So definitely check back if you are interested. So when you do subscribe, click on the little notification bell, so every time you see a video, or every time I post a video, you'll get a notification, and you won't miss anything. That's it, guys. Hopefully this was helpful, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.